All right, for more on World Ranger Day, we now speak to Jeff Cooke, Rhino Conservation Manager with the WWF South Africa. Thank you so much for your time and good afternoon to you. So, as my colleague said, essentially rangers are on the front line of protecting the future of our wildlife. Given that today is World Rangers Day, give us a sense of what the critical role of a ranger entails.
Good afternoon to you and to your listeners. Sure, yeah. So, today is about celebrating the hard work that rangers do and the sacrifices that they make on a daily basis, some of them paying the ultimate sacrifice, unfortunately. And so we really are the thin green line that protects our natural heritage on behalf of everybody in the country. And so they out there on the coalface, really doing the dirty, difficult work that needs to be done. And so, yeah, it's right that we have days like today where we can all just take a moment to reflect on what they do for us as a society.
Tragically, as you also say, close to 150 rangers were killed worldwide, the past year, 71 in Africa alone. So how best can rangers be celebrated and even protected, just given the oftentimes dangerous threats that they face, as you say, and some of the heroic efforts they embark on, especially as far as rhino protection in this sense is concerned?
So I think WWF South Africa has realized that in order for us to manage and protect our biodiversity, we've got to invest in the ranger force, the frontline defenders of our biodiversity. In most instances, we've also got to realize that poaching has become a syndicated, organized crime, certainly when it comes to rhino poaching, but there are other endangered species that are also subject to syndicated crime. And so we've got to keep abreast with how these crimes are committed. We've got to accept that these criminals are well motivated, well funded, and ruthless in terms of getting what they want. And we've got to make sure that our field rangers are up to the task, and we've got to support them. We've got to look at initiatives that build not only capacity, but also build support structures. Look at ranger wellness. What are the major stresses in the work that they do, and how can we support them in dealing with those stresses, and further build resilience and integrity within the field ranger force as a whole.
And just on that point, when you look at the successes, particularly in as far as the rhino is concerned, we understand that Save the Rhino says, 448 rhinos were killed 2 years ago in South Africa, a decline compared to previous years. What would you attribute this success to? Because, we've heard crazy stories about the lengths and the breadth in which rangers will go to protect some of these, animals.
I think it's been a culmination of a number of interventions. I think, protected area managers and those tasked with protecting rhino have evolved and continue to evolve all the time. We're having to try and keep one step ahead of the poachers themselves. I think there's a number of interventions. Dehorning has played a role, improving the security response times, looking at force multipliers like using canines very effectively, but also in training and upskilling our field rangers. At the end of the day, I think we don't realize just how stressful their jobs are. The field ranger of today has a very different task to one of 20 or 30 years ago, where most of their time was spent monitoring game, monitoring biodiversity. They're now fighting war in a lot of instances, and so we've got to equip them to deal with that.
I would imagine, wellness interventions play a very key role in as far as that is concerned. Just talk to us about some interventions there, just looking at the well-being of a ranger.
Well, we've got to create a conducive environment, an enabling environment for rangers to work in. And so that looks at building life skills within the field ranger force. How are they managing their lives? Are they prone to perhaps vulnerable to corruption? How do they deal with corruption, or if they approach to provide information? How can we build resilience in themselves? How can we build more pride in what they do? And just create an environment both within themselves as individuals, but also within the institutions that they work for to ensure that there are systems in place that can support them when these types of challenges arise.
Well, Jeff, thank you so much for your time and, of course, just giving us a sense of how important this role actually is. Jeff Cooke, a Rhino Conservation Manager with the WWF South Africa. All right.